Welcome to the second part about uncertainty propagation. In this video I will discuss the case for two uncorrelated input quantities and one output quantity. This case can be again visualized, but it requires 3 dimensions. The input space is now a 2D plane with the x and y axis representing the input quantities. Now one value along the x-axis, for example a single measurement, is selected. The same is done for the value along the y-axis. The intersection identifies one point in the xy plane indicating the measurement value. The output quantity is now along the z-axis, and this is shown as the third dimension. The relation between the point in the xy plane and the z value is described by a function. This is visualized by the deformed mesh. Now the point from the xy plane is projected towards the function plane, and the associated z value can be read. However, not only the measurement for one point would be considered. The measurement would be repeated, resulting in a distribution of values. They are now all projected towards the function plane. Only the z values are interesting, which can be visualized by projecting them onto the z-axis. Now the distribution of the points along the z-axis could be analyzed by statistical methods. Again, this is related to the principle of Monte Carlo simulation and is not covered in this part. And it requires a lot of calculations and sufficient data points. But there's a way to simplify the calculations. Let's first look at the data points. We can analyze the distributions of the values. First, we consider only the x value of each point. This is symbolized by the histogram. From them, the distribution functions can be modeled. In this example, it is a normal distribution, where the defining parameters are the mean and the standard deviation. Mean and standard deviation can be calculated from experimental data with the known equations. The same process is done for considering only the y value. Keep in mind that in this example, x and y values are considered to be uncorrelated. To get the 2D distribution, both distributions are multiplied. In the visualization, I omit the normalization factor. This factor ensures that an integration across the plane will give the correct probability equal to 1. However, for visualization, only the shape is of interest. Now the equation is simplified using the exponential function's multiplication rules. With one glimpse, it is evident that this is the equation of an ellipse. The ellipse equal 1 standard deviation is highlighted. The mean values now define a point that can be projected towards the function, and the z value can be read. This projected point is also the expansion point of the Taylor series. In the next step, the transfer function is linearized. The local slopes along the axis are determined. This is done by evaluating the partial derivatives. From that, an approximation of the function can be constructed. Now the ellipses can be projected onto that plane. As the function is linearized, its general shape will not change. The standard deviation along the z-axis can be read from the highest and lowest points. This step would in principle require an integration along all lines with a constant z value. However, as the underlying structure is a 2D normal distribution, its integration along any direction will give the maximum value along the integration path multiplied by a scaling factor. In short, it is sufficient to determine the projected ellipse highest and lowest point. The relation to the well-known equation for the uncertainty propagation can be visualized in the following way. First, let's consider that the standard deviations are equal. Then the equation basically calculates the steepest slope of the linearized function plane. The standard deviations can be considered as an additional weighting factor for the general case. Now the normal distribution along the z-axis can be reconstructed. Due to the linearization of the function, the shape of the distribution did not alter. This was how the uncertainty propagation can be visualized for two uncorrelated input quantities. In the next step, we will look at what happens in the case of correlated quantities.